Are there any others like us?
Ain't nobody else out there like us.
You were very intentional about every little bit in the film, which is really, really nice to see. What was the most surprising thing you might have discovered about yourself while you're making this film? Is there anything I mean, I know you were probably really busy focusing on the film. Maybe this was in hindsight, maybe the film was
Right.
over and then you look back on it. Was there anything you discovered about yourself?
I mean, I think I think I think I discovered that I can be that I can trust the process of making a film, and it's something that I wanted to. Um, I was hopeful that I would be able to. A film
Mm-hmm.
is it's a beautiful art form because it teaches you so much. You write
Yeah.
something, you create something, you write something, then you get on set, and then it writes itself again because the actors and the performers and all your collaborators, the crew, especially your cinematographer, your production designer,
Mm-hmm.
costume designer, your makeup people, they all bring these little and big touches to
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and where you shoot. The farm itself spoke to the film and made us move in certain ways because, it's a farm, it's alive, and
Right.
so all these things shape and change things. And then you get into the editing, and the editing is where the film itself,
Mm-hmm.
it tells you what it wants to be if you are willing to listen. You can think, oh, I know what this is. It's going to be this, and that's what, when you're talking about deleted scenes. Like, I shot all the scenes. I'm like, these scenes are in the movie. You don't shoot scenes that you don't intend to put in a movie. But
Exactly.
but when you get into that editing room, you start watching it pull together, and the film. I cut my favorite scene out of the movie. Uh,
Mm.
it's not one of the ones I told you about, but it's another scene.
Mm-hmm.
And the film told me as I'm watching it, it's like, you already said this. You said this in a different way, in a different
Mm-hmm.
scene, but you said this. We don't have to say it this way. And you learn from that. So I learned that I learned that I can learn. uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned that that education keeps going on in filmmaking, and it's beautiful to experience that. And you learn about resilience. I don't know, we're making a film about being resilient and being resolute and being tough
Yep.
and fighting making a film, especially independent film, is incredibly
Mm.
difficult, and it's about fighting as well.
This film came out what? It was in the theaters for a short period of time. What, August? Here it is, October, ready for another release, which is going to be what, October 17th on Hulu, I believe, right? And it seems like it's going to continue having this extended life, and that's what I love about it so much, that there's still people who are still discovering it, just by the sheer word of mouth, and this whole grassroots thing is really helping the film to blow up. And then obviously when people see it, that's when they're like, I gotta tell somebody, did you see this movie? You immediately want to share it with someone, you want to talk to somebody about it. And I think it could just be timeless in that regard and be years from now. So, what is one image do you think, or scene rather, that you hope the audience will still remember? That you hope it makes them question about the world?
That is a difficult question.
Yeah, I know,
uh,
because there's so many scenes. I know.
yeah, look, I think there's a lot about the film that I hope people do take home and remember. But I hope that they remember this family. I hope they remember the scenes around the table. Um, you know, uh, the the love that can still be there in hard times. I just think, and being open to that. And um yeah, I think I wanted to make a dystopian thriller and all that. I wanted to make it fun, but I and dark,
Mhm.
uh, and that spoke to the past, but is about the future. But I really want people to have a sense of hope and love and family in this thing. And so I'd say some of those, you know, yeah.
Mhm.
Let's say that, the ending scene when they're all around the table and
Mhm.
it's an accepting place. I hope that they stick with that. And then, I hope they remember how this family kicked some ass in the opening,
Right.
you know.
Just how close knit they were too. I mean,
Yeah,
her
yeah, the
her
way they
relationship.
move. Yeah.
Yeah, but Galen, I was going to mention earlier too, because when you were talking about Haley's character, I liked seeing the softness that she showed with him. So when you were talking specifically about, um, sometimes women can be very hard on their kids and very tough because they know the world that could potentially be waiting for them. Especially
Mm,
if they've had it really tough themselves, they're going to really, really, dig deep into their kids and make sure that they're well prepared. But in doing that, they kind of, maybe a little bit too heavy-handed in certain areas. And I think definitely as women, we definitely need to show that balance. And I just loved the relationship. It was a very unspoken, right? So we didn't have
yeah.
any backstory between her and Galen and what their relationship was like or anything, but you clearly saw how they worked well together. They both played a part in their own relationship and within the family. And it was just something that was very unspoken, but very subtle, but in such a way where you really paid attention. I paid attention. Like it wasn't done where it was just kind of like a small little scene or something. Any small scenes you did see with them together um, was kind of big, even though they didn't have to say much or do much. It's still, you saw that, and I thought that was really important. His role was very, very important, and I know that you were really intentional about joining a indigenous family, with a Black American family, which was really perfect. And we don't see that much. I think you had mentioned that on the Breakfast Club or one of your interviews, and that was very, very, very important. And I loved it for that. I think a lot of people did because in history, that's exactly, we were very much right side by side. So,
Very much in lockstep, very much, so much
mhm,
cooperation in history for both our peoples. And yeah, it's just
mhm,
something, obviously, it's funny. You kind of look at me, oh, yeah, we haven't seen that. And then you start thinking, well, why haven't we seen that? And you go, oh,
mhm.
because really haven't had that many kicks at the can where we've been able to talk about these histories, So
Yep,
yeah,
yep. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I think this film has the potential to go in so many directions, even with the kids and all. Like, there's just so many. I don't know. There seemed to be a lot more story there too. That they, even some of those scenes that you weren't able to fit in. Do you think there might be a sequel or a series or anything,
Look, I
anything like that?
mean,
Anything?
I'll put it to you like this. If it's up to me, of course, I would love to see, the furthest adventures or the previous adventures of the Freeman
Mm,
family.
mm.
I would definitely love to expand it. I definitely have, a few ideas about where to go with it. Um, you know, but the chances to do that kind of thing sometimes are not whether you have the story, but whether there's
Yeah.
means to make those stories. And
Sorry
so,
about that.
yeah, we need a backer.
Yes.
We could
Yes.
use some financial help, So if there's
Just put it
any
out there.
there's any amazing people out there that are interested
Hmm.
in black art and black stories, holler. We got some stuff for you guys.
Yes, for sure. Like I said, don't worry about this. Just have some scripts ready, some ideas ready. And then when the
Yeah.
people, you just always got to be ready for any scenario and situation. You never know who may come knock. So I would just
Yeah.
stay ready so you don't have to get ready and know that those
We
potential
got we got I got
things
I
out
got a
there.
video game out there. I got a
Oh,
I got a I
nice.
got a sequel and I got a TV series. If anybody got some money that they want to invest in that, yeah, for
That's
sure.
what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking I want to address something that bothered me later on that I was just like, oh man, I can't believe I said that. And it wasn't until later, but when I went live on IG And, you know, I was very emotional, as I know, you know, after watching the film, and I went live and I was just like in tears. I couldn't believe I was even doing that. I was like in tears, blubbering all over the place. But I mistakenly said that the film was not science fiction. So, although it's not horror science fiction, I get that. But the film is definitely set in a post-apocalyptic world, and it still explores all your like speculative fiction, you know, speculative like what if questions, right? What if society collapse, which is what the film is about: environmental neglect and food resources, you know, scarce and all that kind of stuff, and people going nuts. And that's what a lot of the films we watch are. And
Right.
so it's all classic sci-fi stuff. But for some reason, in hindsight, now that I think about it, I was like, it seems like for me at the time, the world that you created was so familiar. It felt present day, right?
Mhm.
Of course, you didn't have flying things. You know, everyone was dressed kind of like normal. It just felt very present day and felt very familiar, which is kind of not good because we're not, especially with everything going on now. It
Yeah.
it was almost very real, right? So that's, I think, why I had maybe that feeling, and maybe it didn't feel like that at first. Um, and so going back what we talked about earlier about giving people new perspectives and alternative ways of seeing the world, do you think it's possible to create a world that still feels hopeful and somewhat believable without it coming off and sounding like a utopian fantasy? Because I struggle with
Mm.
that. I struggle with the fact that I've been growing up watching science fiction since I was a tiny tot, but also horror. My mom she was a big horror fan, so we watched way too much. I watched too much horror movies when I was a kid, way too many. But then, you know, just all the post-apocalyptic stuff, all those warnings, all those, and as someone who does festivals, can you imagine how much of that stuff I've consumed?
Sure.
And when I sit back and think about it, I'm like, again, the same situation with my family member who was feeding her son that one perspective. I worry that we're feeding our subconscious mind that one perspective of our future,
Mm.
and we won't believe anything else. We
Right.
won't believe in things calming down and being somewhat normal. Obviously, it won't be favorable for everybody. Everyone's here making their own choices and experiencing their own lives in the way that they're supposed to be while they're here. But for the most part, I don't know. What's your take and thoughts on that?
Mm. I mean, what I will say, that's a very interesting question, and what I will say is like, um, I think that when we do make things, I think it's tough right now
Right.
because it can feel
Heavy.
like dystopia, right? You know what I mean? Like that, like, it
Yes.
for a lot of people, us specifically, it can
Hmm.
feel like that. And so, um, I think to see something post this is very difficult for people to see a sense of harmony or you know, hope ain't the word, but like a lighter
Hmm.
world, a
Hmm.
world that does not feel as oppressive as it does right now is real hard for people.
Hmm.
And I think, look, I mean, I think that is why in this film, I really tried hard to have the core of it be about love and about community and about, a connection and trying to kind of shake off these feelings of everything is horrible and we can't trust anybody. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
the heart of the film is really like if we gotta continue, we gotta continue together. We gotta figure that out. And
Right.
so that message had to be in there for me because I'm
Hmm.
like, while I exist in the world that I exist in, and while I can look at and I'm projecting and seeing something really dark, I have a young son and I don't want him to grow
Hmm.
up in that place. I need to believe that we're gonna, that the pendulum's gonna swing the other way
Right.
and come out and be in a better place than we are. And so I think those messages have to be. We have to remind people, even if we're gonna make dark worlds, we have to remind people of the hope and of the heart that is still
Hmm.
in this community. Um,
Hmm.
And look, that's a challenge. I think that's a challenge of every, or you just put the challenge out to every artist out
Mhm.
there, that loves science fiction, is like, can we in this time see a different world that is hopeful? And I'm hopeful that we can.
Yeah.
I really early in my career, not really early, but like, one of the first TV shows that I got to actually put my imprints on was a show that I created for you for Hulu, and it was a
Mhm.
show, but it was about revolution. But in
Right.
that world, it was like, it's called Utopia Falls, and it's a kids show,
Mhm.
and it's about kids finding the power of art in the future. And for them, they live in a utopia. You know what I mean? They live in everything's great. It seems great. But then they
Right.
realize that, art art was also about expressing your individual voice, and it's about discovering.
Mhm.
Once they do that, it causes some trouble for that society. So I do think there are visions of the future that can happen that are not so dark, but it's a challenge
Mhm.
to artists. And you're right, one of the challenges is, can it feel real? And it's
Mhm.
tough
Mhm.
right now when you feel like the world is so
Right.
dark. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
hard to see that vision, but I'm hopeful, and I think we all got to be hopeful. So,
I had a thought about your film too, and I also reflected on my childhood and just other people. And I think that your film, again, what we all can take from it is that we have this world that is chaotic, that is dangerous, that's always been like this since mankind's been on this planet, right? Um, but we all have, well, at least some of us, we know people's households are all different, but there are a lot of people who are able to build that safe space in their home and the things that you can control within your family and community, and finding like-minded individuals to build that community. um, that is the answer, I think, because when I think of Cookie, and when you're little, you don't really have a concept how bad things are. I grew up in the 80s. I didn't know that was horrible. I didn't find out until, like, I did know things were crazy, but I had nothing to compare it to because I just got in the world. Like, I'm still little. I don't know nothing. So you hear
yeah,
your parents talking about how crazy things are, but for you as a kid, you have no reference point. You just trying to go out there and play. You just got in this world. You are
right,
having fun. You're 10 years old. You've been in this on this planet for 10, 12, maybe years, and all you know is to have a good time, and that your life is just now starting. And everybody else is miserable thinking about things are going to get worse, but you just got here. So you don't want the
yeah,
party to be over. You everybody in the club having fun. You just got in the club. You want to have some fun too. So how
yeah,
everybody telling you the club closing? Wait, what? No, I just got here. I'm trying to live my life and have some fun.
right,
So I try to keep that in perspective so that the next generation, when they're coming up, they don't get too heavily influenced by our very pessimistic or negative views about the future.
right,
And that's very, very important because it's their world to create their own particular future and what they want and see for themselves in it,
yeah,
without being inundated with all of that heavy weight. They
yeah,
just like, I think the son, and he was taught all the dangers in the world, but he kind of didn't have the same connection to it as his mom did. So he don't
yeah.
see it that way. That's why he was taking risk and doing the crazy stuff, because it's like, I see
Hmm.
what she's telling me. I know it's out there, but that might be her word. That ain't mine. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna go over
and I
there.
think and I think I think that's how young people are. Like, you can tell them all you want, but they kind
Hmm.
of gotta discover it themselves. Like,
Yep.
like, that very biological rebellion happens in those teenage
Hmm.
years, and it's like, I don't care what you've been telling me. Like, I hear it, but I'm going over that fence. Like,
Right.
like,
Right.
I
Right.
gotta go
Right.
sleep. So, and that's a
Hmm.
very real thing. And it's absolutely what you're saying. And I also think, I heard somebody speak about, in a similar way, what we're talking about now. And I heard this quote. I'm going to misquote it, but essentially it was just like, you know, not that we should accept. how things feel right now. But we also must have perspective that
Mm.
this time right now, if you really think about how it has been for our people and people
Mhm.
of color in the in for hundreds of years in the
Yes.
past,
Yes.
in this part of the world,
Mhm.
this is this is kind of the best time it has been. I think that we
Yep.
often have a, we see the promise of what it could be. And that
Mhm.
is always been our struggle, is like, it can be better, we should be better, we can be better, we can be, we should be, and we should be.
Mhm.
And we're trying to get to, what Martin Luther King would say, that the dream, whatever that
Right.
dream.
Promising. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it can feel dark when it seems like the world wants to take another direction. And it's like, nah, like we're on our way. Like, where are we going? But, there was a time when, you know, uh, they were burning down whole towns
Right.
of
Right.
people, you know, um,
Yep.
and so, I get the darkness. I get that people don't want it to return to that, and we
Mhm.
must continue to be vigilant about that. But it's also important that we continue to look forward with hope, and we
Mhm.
keep letting people know it can still be this thing. Let's keep pushing forward and let's keep fighting. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's very, very important. It's almost kind of like being at a state of arrival, right? So it's almost like if you're going to run this race, you're continuing to look at the end of the race of where you're trying to go. But in the meantime, you need to stop and still recognize how far you've come. Doesn't mean you're going to stop and get comfortable and be like, I'm good. Everything looks good. I'm better than where I was before. I'm just going to stop and chill here. You still have this goal of keep going, but it doesn't mean you don't want a tunnel vision. You don't want a tunnel because then you're not appreciating where you are and kind of looking around you as
Who
you're
you're
kind of,
here with,
yeah,
and
who you're
right.
exactly. Exactly. And just being in that state of arrival, I think it's really as a race of people, we need to stop and or just be able to still recognize how
Mhm.
far we've come, where
Yeah.
we currently are, while we're still on the path of, because as we're continuing to move and grow and keep running down into or toward that goal, we're really doing that for the next generation after us too,
Yeah.
right? So that's why we shouldn't focus only on that, because we're going to miss the joys of our own life and our
Yeah.
own experiences by staying so only focused on that. I wanted to close out with this question because I have a music background as well. I was a singer and songwriter and
Is-
producer, light producer for years. Um, yeah. And my first love was music as well. Grew up in a household hearing, my mom playing Barry White and just Lou Rawls and, all the great, artists and stuff. And then also watching sci-fi films in the day or, in the evening or whatever, and horror films. So I had that combination of it all. And I know music was definitely your foundation in filmmaking since you started out directing, music videos like you were talking about. And you got such a great ear. And I loved how you used it with that eerie whistle that's in the film that we hear in the trailer a lot. And so I, I love that. As soon as I hear it, I immediately think of the film. So it almost feels like that was a actual character in the
Yeah.
film to me. So was there
Yeah.
a particular song or a sound that you think you would love to find a place in your next movie? Like, do you already have some music in
Mm.
your head where you're like, oh my gosh, that would be. I don't, because sometimes with creative people, and I used to have this issue with I'm sorry, with music, in that sometimes the lyrics or the idea of the story or the lyrics would come to me, but no music. And sometimes it's
Oh
vice
yeah.
versa.
Right.
Sometimes I hear the music and I start producing the music itself, but I don't know what I'm gonna be talking about. I don't know like I have
Right.
no nothing yet. And so sometimes when you have a song or if you think you have something, you don't really know where you want to place it just yet, but you have that there. And sometimes you end up building something around around it. So is there anything you can think of that you might put in the forefront of any film?
I mean, I could talk about music forever with you. Like that, music is another language. It's a universal language, right? It's a
Hmm.
language. Like yes, there's lyrics, and lyrics can be in a particular language, but music itself is a language upon itself. It is something that reaches across every border and boundary. It reaches across cultures. It doesn't matter. Um, and it's emotional. It's the most. I think it's. I would. Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think it's humankind's most incredible creation.
Hmm.
It's it has this wild power of uh,
Hmm.
unification. You could take a random group of people from all over the world, different cultures, different languages, different political views, different
Hmm.
everything, gender, doesn't matter. And you play them a piece of music, and you know they can be dancing around, hugging each other, crying. uh, it's incredible, and film has a very similar feeling as well. It has structures that some music doesn't have, but it has this strange communicative effect, and it's a unifying thing as well. And so I think that's why they kind of play so well together. They're like brother and sister. They just
Hmm.
play so well. Um, I'm like you, like sometimes there are pieces of music that just move me emotionally. Coming from directing music videos, that was some of the greatest joy of my life was, somebody had created a piece. It means something to them. I hear it. It mixes with my thoughts, my experiences, my background, and comes out a different idea, yet it feels like the song. And it was one of the most amazing times of creation in my life because it would just inspire images. And I don't know where these images,
Ooh,
you know what I
nice.
mean? I hear something and then images start to pop into
Mm-hmm.
my head, and
Mm-hmm.
that becomes a story. And it's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. And so, yes, music is still like that for me. I write to music. When I start to ideate about, it pops into my head that I want to see their life. For some reason, the music that they listen to or that is that's going to surround them starts to also populate in my head. And I make playlists for um, for writing those
Mm-hmm.
stories. And some of those songs end up, in the movie, and a lot of them definitely don't. Um, but they help me to capture the tone and the
Mm-hmm.
mood of what the film should feel like. And so that's a really important sort of like anchor for me
Right.
as a creative, because you can be pulled in all these directions, but it's so strange. It's like a piece of music will just like, it'll just pull you back and make you
Mm-hmm.
if you're on the right path or not. So Jacob Banks, the final song in the film, "Slow Up," was
Mm-hmm.
like songs that I heard, and I instantly knew what the end of the movie had to feel like and be. And I actually cried while I was writing the scene with the song.
Oh, wow.
So so yeah, yeah, music has that amazing, beautiful effect. I I mean, I would love. I'm writing something right now, and like, there's a lot of Sade in in
Mm.
in this playlist, and I'm very hopeful that the stars may align that I might get to use a piece of her wonderful catalog. But
Oh,
yeah,
that would be amazing. I don't think I've ever, well, I mean, I haven't. Somebody probably has had a Sade song in their film. I just know I've never really, I don't remember hearing
Yeah,
Anybody use her material?
she doesn't license a lot, so
No, yeah. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have to. I think she's very into her people. They think they might be just very intentional on who uses her stuff. Um, yeah, I think that's definitely why. But like I said, you never know. Just putting it out there.
yeah. And I love what you said too, just about the whistle. Like I think there's musicality, and musicality is communication, and that's something that, yeah, for the
Hmm.
family, I wanted them to have a way of communicating with each other
Right.
throughout those fields, and and
Hmm.
yeah, I mean,
But that's
music.
it's a character in a way because when you hear that whistle, you know who is almost like it at least it feels a little bit kind of like a character to me when I hear that whistle. It's an important character. It's kind of warning you, telling you what's going on. It's like without that you know what I mean. So that's the reason why I just felt like even certain sounds. It doesn't have to be a song, but just even certain sounds
Yeah.
in films can be very very powerful. And so like I said, dude, can't believe it's your first one out. I mean, you've done a lot of other work too. So that's one thing I definitely want to share with a lot of people. Go to the IMDb page and I'll put a link everywhere on it because people need to see the other series and other work that you have done. So it's not like you haven't done anything prior to this.
But you know
But
what? I'll say this for you. Like, this one is the one that I feel most at home at. Like,
mhm,
as you know, as a creative, like, there are some things you do for lots of reasons. You get to work with some people, or like an
right,
opportunity comes your way, and it might not be your full expression. And
mhm,
this one was my full expression, and so
mhm.
very, I feel grateful and I feel blessed that it's connected. So.
You should. I'm extremely happy to tell everybody again and remind them that we're going to be showing 40 Acres at the Atlanta Sci-Fi Film Festival on Saturday, October 25th. I think it might be, who knows what's going to happen. They're actually re-releasing, well, not re-releasing, they're releasing Prey in the theaters for the first time. So you never
That's
know.
it.
Yeah, they're bringing it back. I just posted it on the stories because I just saw it and I was super excited for it. But I said all that to say that first I was telling people, oh, this might be the last time we'll see 40 Acres in the theater, but you never know because this film, it keeps gaining more and more attention and more followers and more. So once it drops on Hulu and people really watch it again, watch it on Hulu or whatever for that, and then see it in the theaters, at the film festival, I think it's going to spread even more. And they may decide to re release it because it is a shame that they haven't given it the full release, before. But I think they're learning that. I think it was the same week that Superman came out,
Yeah.
the reboot for Superman, and you know they're realizing all of these big blockbuster films that they put so much money behind aren't doing what they're expected to do. So you might want to spread that love around. Just saying, don't put all your screens for the one film that, I hate to say it, but Tron just came out and I haven't seen all the reviews for it, but it's not looking good. So it's like, don't use up all the theaters because I think even at the end of the day, the theaters are now are suffering because if no one's coming out for these big blockbuster films, they're not. And so they need to take a chance and put a film like yours out there. And it's showing a proven track record right now. So they need to just stop playing around. I'm just saying.
Amen. From your mouth to God's ears, girl. Come on. Let's
Just saying, man. I was so mad when I came out that theater. I was like, anybody in this why is going on? What's wrong with you? Get in that theater. I just like
Give us a
very,
chance,
very
you know?
yeah, but I'm glad in a way that it happened this way because sometimes when it's on a grassroots and it starts growing, it sometimes becomes even bigger
Mm.
when it's done this way. So, the foundation is there for the rest of your films and other things that you're working on. So, just nothing but blessings coming to you. And congratulations again on such a awesome film. And tell your mom congratulations because she definitely, and I know you know this, obviously, you owe a lot of it to her as well. So, she did all right. She did all right. As the old folks would say, she did okay.
Beatrice, why? You did all right, girl.
Yeah, it did all right. Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And
Thank you.
we're definitely going to be following you on all socials and being right, right on the tip of every word and letter you put out online, letting us know what your next project is going to be.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And everybody go out and check the film at the festival. And yeah, we're gonna be out on Hulu and oh, and the score is out. The score is out on Apple Music and Spotify. So yeah,
Nice.
40 Acres original score. It's out there. Well, my man Todor Kabakov, the mad genius who made the score.
Aha.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Take care, my dear.
Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate you and thank you for all your work. Everything that you're doing out here, just exposing our narratives and making sure that people, see some different worlds, because we need it right now. That's for sure. So
Yes, yes. I'm always trying to show as many different stories as possible and real multiculturalism as well. Just as a small note, I think for me, multiculturalism is a community of different cultures. It's multi is more than one. And I think just bringing people together of like minds is really important, just like the community that you built in the film. And so that's what I built with the film festival, just making sure that it's very diverse in terms of stories and narratives and perspectives and all those good things. So yeah, your film definitely represents exactly that. So thank you.
thank you, my love. Thank you, and thank you for taking the time today. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.